Hello everybody. Today we're going to be talking about the success of Baldur's Gate 3 and how that success has been a positive for the D&D community as a whole. Let's first start off before the launch. BG3 originally released the pre-access of the game in 2020, in which Larian Studios opened up some parts of Act 1 for players to test it out and give their feedback. Varying Studios continued to address some common problems and bugs shared among players testing, and ultimately had the full release on August 3rd in 2023. It is estimated that more than 2.5 million copies were sold during its early access phase. Upon release, Larian shared some interesting statistics on the first weekend. In the first weekend of release, there was over 10 million hours recorded. Players spent a combined 88 years total in character creation. I probably spent a year there myself, honestly. There was about 540,000 concurrent players on release and had peaked at around 900,000 2 weeks after release. BG3 ended up going on to sell over another 20 million copies by the end of the year, making it one of the most successful turn-based RPGs of all time. BG3 ended up going on to win a bunch of awards, including Game of the Year, Best Multiplayer Game, Best Community Support, which is well earned, and a handful of others. Now, let's shift to D&D. As we know, BG3 is loosely based on the 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons rule set. And I say loosely because it includes tweaks and modifications that Larian found necessary in adapting it to a video game. For example, and I love this one, if you're ever playing D&D, try throwing a potion at one of your friends. When you do it, you will find out sadly that you're just a jerk that's throwing glass objects at people. Because if it hits, it will not heal. And I can see cases where a demon will even make you roll a damage check instead. Now, let's talk about how BG3's release directly affected the revenue of Hasbro's Wizard of the Coast sector. Wizards of the Coast are an award-winning developer and publisher of tabletop and digital games best known for Magic the Gathering and Dungeons & Dragons, owned by Hasbro. At the end of the year, Hasbro released their finances and their quarter 3 earnings, which was the time BG3 was released, and we can find here that despite Hasbro being down 10% as a whole, the revenue of the Wizards and Coast segment was up a massive 40%. This section earned 120 million more than the same period in 2022. Now, I feel like this was a lot to do with the fluctuation of new players gaining interest in D&D after playing Baldur's Gate 3. For example, you can see here that in the months of August and September, all 3 core rulebooks skyrocketed to the top of Amazon's bestseller in the puzzle and game reference category. And I can say personally, as a kid, I have dabbled in D&D a little, nothing major, but after putting hundreds of hours into BG3, I felt this strong urge to give it another try, and now I find myself really getting hyped up looking forward to this next session. Overall, I think BG3 has been a great addition to the D&D world, and has opened up the minds of new people getting the full D&D experience, tabletop and in video games.